quality of the work has improved enormously. When I first visited AdFest a decade ago, it was predominantly print and posters and television, and very little that used the other available channels to us. But this time, I saw a lot of really imaginative, inventive, progressive work, particularly in branded entertainment and branded content, ideas that truly wove themselves into popular culture in an interesting way. The craft always is of the highest order because I expect immaculate craft, but this year there were a few pieces that were, beautifully done and beautifully observed and captured the sort of rich flavor of the region. Now, I always look at this region as a sort of melting pot of various talents and multiple approaches to modern day communication, and the character and the wit and the humor and the authenticity of each of the countries really had a presence this week. So it was a delight to judge the work from all parts, from the Middle East through to Australia, Southeast Asia, to obviously China, India, and Thailand itself. But we saw some great work and had some great debate. What makes good branded content? Well, any form of content competes with popular culture. And people, I've always believed that we don't have a divine right to people's attention. We intrude in people's lives, and we have to reward them for the time they spend with any form of communication. Branded content really, first and foremost, has to be engaging and incredibly interesting. Entertainment, of course, is the operative word. Do you entertain? Do you engage in a form of communication that people want to consume and people want to share? People are invited into a piece, and accordingly, the work has to give them something in return for that interest. I think there's a body of work out there that assumes that people are interested in the category, and the time lengths seem to get longer and longer and longer and longer. And we're not making feature films, I think people have a fascination with moving pictures. People love storytelling, they love great narration. And when you find ideas that captivate people, people will literally immerse themselves in that content and stay with it accordingly. And that's the secret. And during the course of the week, we saw many examples of very good branded content that understood its audience, that entertained, engaged, and created a really, really compelling narrative and a really interesting way of weaving the brand into people's lives. And we saw completely polar opposite with content that just was sponsored content. And I think the most important thing is the word brand. The brand has to play an inextricable part in that content. It has to have a reason for being. And the best examples we saw this week skillfully wove the brand and the meaning of the brand, the purpose of the brand, and brand attributes into the content in such a seamless fashion that it just became part of the fabric of the storytelling, and it was beautiful to consume. Not at all. Not at all. Creativity is the most valuable asset in business today. I've always believed that. And there is an inextricable link between creativity and marketplace impact. Today, particularly today, people demand creativity in everything that we create. They will not entertain us unless the work, the content, is creative and interesting, and more importantly, of human value. I believe the higher the creativity, the greater the marketplace success. There's been many studies over the course of the last 10 years that prove categorically that inextricable link between effectiveness and creative content. There are various award shows out there that put a focus, a spotlight on effectiveness, and I believe 9 out of 10, there's a link between creativity and effectiveness. Some of the work that we hold up for best in class in terms of creativity also win best in class for effectiveness, and the two create a dovetail connection. So I always think there's a sweet spot between the two. If you don't create product that truly transforms mindset, behavior, and impacts culture, you will never get to truly long-term effect. Sustainable, an idea that's sustainable and obviously has the ability to grow the brand accordingly. But creativity is the most important ingredient. We talk a lot about the alchemy of creativity and data and technology and media to transform brands, to grow brands. And I think every major marketeer today, every progressive marketeer understands the value and importance that creativity brings to their marketing problem. And we as an industry, we're a creative solutions industry. We solve business problems with creativity. Creativity has the ability to create transformative solutions for clients. And we have to believe that, and I believe that passionately. And there will always be that inextricable link between the two. Well, I mean, it depends how you frame it. I mean, I never talk about age. I talk about experience. I think the best communicators are people who have a comprehensive understanding of human behavior, who are sponges of life, who have the ability to bring all of those things to the table to connect to people. And experience, for me, is everything. If you look in other forms of other industries, music industry, acting, is Mick Jagger past his sell-by date? Is Anthony Hopkins past his sell-by date? Is Helen Mirren past her sell-by date? No, of course they're not. And I believe that if we're looking for diversity and variety and having all walks of life, all talents coming to the table to focus on solving business problems with creativity, people with experience are vital, particularly with the spending power that people over the age of 50 have today. People who really understand that mindset, that approach to life, and have the ability to connect with them in fresh new ways. And ideas are not old. We're always looking for new, young, fresh ideas, and we should be talking about the idea itself, not the person who conceives that idea and gives birth to that idea. So I've believed in that. And of course, the diversity issue that we face is something that's playing out in many, many ways. And I understand the sort of the whole situation in Australia at this moment in time. But I've always been a great believer. I never look at age. I just first and foremost, looking for great ideas from great people who think in a beautifully fertile way. And if I look at writers, if I look at music, if I look at actors, I mean, they're timeless because their ideas and their talent is still alive and is still youthful and is still resonating with society. So that for me will always be the way I judge the whole topic.
We need a few of you in Australia. Clone yourself and move down. There's a lot of pressure on advertising agencies right now. What makes a great client?
Well, obviously, the pressure that we as an industry are facing at this moment in time is huge. We're obviously at one end of the spectrum. We have clients taking their business in-house. We have the consultancies on the other end of the spectrum. We have the platforms, surrounding us. But at the heartbeat of communication today, I believe that the creative communication companies really do have a place at the table and do have an important place at the table because they are ideas. They are an ideas industry, and ideas are valuable, and ideas will always be valuable to business today. And I believe that as long as we invest in that and we use that in a powerful fashion to create that connective tissue with people, we will be successful. And what's interesting, when you talk about clients, there's a new breed of client today who've grown up in a different way and are totally versed in technology. They understand the importance of human data and intelligence. They're looking to use technology in new ways to connect to people. They're looking to infuse data into their communication, but they're also brave, audacious, because they know they have to be to connect to society who have zero interest in advertising. You know, as I said earlier on, we intrude in people's lives, so we have to give people something in return for that investment. And I think clients who have their finger on the pulse of society, on the pulse of culture, are the most successful. And I've been fortunate enough to work with many amazing clients who've used creativity as a weapon to create, transformation and behavioral change in the marketplace. McDonald's, Coca-Cola, and Samsung, all three of my clients have been awarded the Creative Marketeer of the Year at Cannes. All three use creativity to great effect. All three produce content and communication that drives business impact, and all have that one thing, that comprehensive understanding of human beings. And all are driven by one single goal, which is how do we create human value? Is our communication relevant? Is it stimulating? Is it rewarding? Of course, it's engaging and entertaining, but does it create value? And when you create human value, you created a lifelong emotional relationship. And I think clients today, the best clients, embrace creativity, are prepared to roll the dice in a new way. And that doesn't mean being cavalier and throwing caution to the wind, but they know that they have to step up to a higher level to make a bigger difference in the marketplace, because people demand it now. They spend their life, doing what they want to do, consuming what they want to consume. And I've always believed, through the years that any time I have an opportunity to connect to somebody, I have to give something in return for their investment in me. So it's almost, we're creating gifts for people. And if you give people something, they might gift you something back. And that's called communication. And I think with technology now, we have this ability to have a one-to-one communication. We can create bespoke solutions for people. We can use technology in new ways. But the heartbeat of it all are those beautiful, precious ideas that people love. And people admire brands that really are driven by purpose, are driven by a point of view. I think the great marketeers, the great clients, and the great brands stand for something, have a point of view about life. They know who they are. And I think in a world, particularly with the millennial generation, who connects to brands that share their point of view, that share their values, are looking for brands to be completely transparent. And that relationship that's forged between the two is hugely important. And I think brands that demonstrate that they are serving people, and also doing good for the planet is becoming more important. But bravery is everything, and courage is everything. And anybody who is audacious enough to move the dial forward, for me, are the great clients. Yeah, I mean, the talk really is about, we talk a lot about alchemy, about magic, and I do believe, when everything that we do, I mean, as a communicator, you have to immerse yourself in the subject, and you have to know every single component part of the subject and the subject matter. So that's where data plays a great part. Data now gives us knowledge, gives us intelligence, gives us a deep understanding of people's behavior and mindset. But the one thing it doesn't give us, I believe, I know everything about you. I know where you are, what you do, when you do it, why you do it, and what you're buying. So I can track you and shadow your life. So connecting to people has never been easier. Has never been easier. But connecting with people emotionally has never been more difficult, because people are incredibly selective, and also they have the ability through technology to close the door. In the old days, it was the salesman knocking the door, jamming his foot through the door and trying to have the conversation to sell you something. Now that happens in a digital space. But the same thing happens. People will just shut the door in front of you unless you give them something in return. So for me, it's about how we trust our gut, trust our instinct, have those ideas that you believe in, that you feel. So that sort of, if you think of entrepreneurs, if you think of the unicorn brands, all of those have trusted something, have been guided by instinct as much as knowledge. So it's about intuition, and it's about creating empathy, and also it's about being informed. So it's being intelligent and intuitive simultaneously. And I still think that that's where the magic lies, because without alchemy, we just have an ecosystem. And this is not paint by numbers. Data's hugely important, vitally important, and AI obviously is huge, and voice will be, a massive transformational moment in time for us. And speed, of course, with the advent of 5G will obviously change the dynamics and the velocity around us. But we must prize ideas, and we must always find those new, fresh, brave ideas that challenge the status quo, that really point a direction and a compass to the future, and surprise and delight and reward people for the time they spend with us. And all of the new world brands, the brands that really are living in tomorrow, are the brands I think who are prospering today and will prosper in the future. And what's interesting about AdFest 2019, the whole subject is tomorrow today. So it's about future-facing communication, it's about audacious thinking, it's about entrepreneurial thinking, and who are the modern day entrepreneurs who are going to change the landscape and change the way we communicate. Obviously that's going to change, the how, but the what will always be driven by a brilliant, beautiful, magical idea. What's kept me in the business? I've been in this business now almost 40 years, and I promised myself at a very early age, when I wake up on a cold Monday morning and it's pouring down with rain outside and I go to work, is the day I will step out of the business, because I've never been to work in my life. I'm fortunate enough to work with brilliant people who have an incredible appetite for ideas, and I work in a maker culture, and we have great opportunity to express ourselves, to seed ideas, grow ideas, develop ideas, make ideas, and I've always loved that, and it's something that I have a personal love affair with, and I think when that fades, it will fade, naturally fade, but at this moment in time, I don't think there's ever been a more exciting time. Of course, the dynamics of the industry are changing. Of course, the financial pressures. Of course, the pressure on the bottom line and answering to shareholders and creating shareholder value. All of those things, swirl around us, but they've always been there. What I love about this business, ideas are currency. Ideas are valuable. Ideas are the most valuable assets in business today. They always have been, and they always will be. And as long as each day you have this opportunity of getting up and working with different people, different subject matters, creating content, creating ideas, innovating, prototyping, you have the ability now to do so many, many things. So if you are a maker, a producer, then this is the business to be in, and it's a business that's always rewarded me emotionally. And so time will tell, but at this moment in time, I'm as excited about it as I was when I first walked through the door at Saatchi & Saatchi in 1980.